Welcome back to the Dallas Meetup Dime, where we get straight to the value in 10 minutes or less. I'm your host, Carson Gibbons, and today I'm joined by one of the most synonymous names with the Dallas entrepreneurial, startup, and venture communities. He's the exiting managing director over Techstars Fort Worth, the founder and executive chairman of the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, an adjunct entrepreneurship professor at SMU, the co-founder of the Dallas Innovation Alliance, an advisory board member at Morrison Seeger Venture Capital Partners, the founder of Park City's Angel Network, fund manager at the SMU Impact Lab, and founder and managing director of Bowles Investment Group, and finally, the co-founder and managing partner of 1845 Venture Studio. Please help me welcome Trey Bowles.
Wow, thank you for that introduction.
Have you done enough?
Goodness gracious, made me tired listening to it.
Growing up in this market around Dallas Business Journal, Dallas Morning News, Dallas Innovates, your name, especially in like 2010 on, just synonymous with anything to do with Dallas entrepreneurship. So thank you for that. But some of us grew up on that, and it's been wild to watch your success in kind of building this market into a more forward-thinking, venture-savvy market.
Well, I mean, thank you for that. I think, fortunately, there was a lot of people that were involved in that process. I was one of the ones that was out front just because I was really driving, and I had the opportunity to spend the amount of time and consistency it needs to help really build it, whereas most people were doing it volunteer. And so when we started the Dallas Entrepreneur Center, or the DEC network, we were really focused on how do we help provide value to the ecosystem, how do we help entrepreneurs start, build, and grow businesses, and most importantly, how do we bring a collaborative ecosystem together where we can celebrate what all the other organizations are doing, knowing that together that would a rising tide would raise all ships, and it would make a better ecosystem for entrepreneurs.
Talk to us more about the advent of the DEC network and brass tacks. Like, how did you go about actually creating that?
So at the time, I was doing a project across the country with a guy named Steve Case, who had started AOL, and he had developed this initiative called the Startup America Partnership. And so I was in charge of sort of managing the Texas initiative. There was a bunch of other states involved, and it was how do we help entrepreneurs, particularly outside of the coast, be successful. And so I saw 1871 Chicago was being built. There was one in Nashville called the Entrepreneur Center, and then some friends of mine were starting one in DEC called 1776. I thought, well, what if we needed something like that in Dallas? And so we partnered with a group called SoftLayer. They had a space, which is now the Mavericks headquarters, that they were using supposedly to help entrepreneurs. And I went and saw it, and there was no entrepreneurs in there. I said, well, what if you just let me have this space for a year? Let's see if people need, an entrepreneur network and an entrepreneur community with a space to build. And so we started it. 3 months later, we had about 150 people in there, packed in 10,000 square feet of cubicle space, working and building and growing. And so that's where we kind of said, hey, it seems like this is something that's needed. Let's really formalize it, build it, grow it. And then we moved into the West End, and we ended up having like 13 different locations, just trying to help entrepreneurs wherever we could be.
I've been to at least 3 of them, but I didn't realize that it was 13.
There was a lot. At one time there was a lot, all the way down in San Antonio. But it was also a time when people didn't have co-working spaces. It was brand new. And so as soon as co-working spaces started to become more prevalent, we moved our focus to programmatic and event rather than space driven, to be able to help more people and become more ubiquitous around the ecosystem and really all of North Texas.
Were you the full-time executive director of the DEC network for a period of years?
I was. It was maybe 5 years.
5 years?
And then we hired this amazing CEO. She was only there for 10 months. And so I came back and ran it again for a couple of years until we found Bill Chen, the current CEO.
Where did you start to spend your time upon exiting the DEC network from a full-time perspective?
Well, so we talked about several of the things that I had done. There was several other things I was doing at the same time. So I was building about 6 different nonprofits at one time. So I was spreading my time between all of those. So as I was winding myself out of the DEC, I was also winding myself out of leadership at the Mayor Star Council, the Dallas Innovation Alliance, the Startup Champions Network. I'd built an entrepreneurship department at SMU and their Meadows School. So I was really just trying to unwind from all of that stuff. And it took a couple of years to do that before 2020, where I launched a forgivable loan fund for women and minority entrepreneurs who weren't getting access to the PPP loans.
Oh, interesting.
And so the Dallas business community came together and put $3.5 million together for forgivable loans for small businesses in the ecosystem. I did that in 2020 and 2021, and then 2022 went to Techstars, and now I'm with 1845.
Talk to us about the Techstars experience. That was something that my co-founder and I, back in the day in the 20-teens, we applied for the New York chapter. I don't think Fort Worth was around yet. And we ended up going to Y Combinator instead, which was his preference. I really wanted to go to New York for whatever reason. But talk to us about the focus of the Fort Worth Accelerator and the batch that you just did.
Well, Techstars has been, like Y Combinator, has been around since the mid-2000s. And they really saw an opportunity and need and a desire to help entrepreneurs more effectively start, build, and grow companies. I don't think when they started it, they thought, hey, we're going to build a humongous global accelerator program that has 6,000 portfolio companies and has a market cap of a couple $1 billion. I think they really just wanted to help. And so it began and grew to cities from Boulder to cities like New York and Boston and LA. And then when I came in, they had launched Fort Worth, which focused on healthcare. So I had the opportunity to run that program. I ran a program in Stockholm for a little bit that they had, and then I ran a virtual program they had called the Anywhere program. And Techstars it's an incredible experience. Not that other accelerators aren't great, but this one was awesome. The network is what is the most valuable thing at Techstars, 100%. And so I was able to reconnect to a worldwide network of entrepreneurs, subject matter experts, investors, and leverage that to help support the companies that we were bringing into Fort Worth, which we were bringing in from all over the world. I think we had 17 different countries, 27 different companies that came from outside the U.S.
How many were in the batch?
There was 10 each batch. So I did 31 companies at that program, and then 12 in a different program and another 12 in a different program. So I got, the opportunity. And then I really wanted to see, how good of an investor I was. I was doing angel investing. I was a part of and still am co-chair at the North Texas Angel Network, and was really just trying to figure out how can I get better at investing? What should I learn? And so I got to learn from 30 managing directors from all over the world that were really, really good at investing in early stage companies. And so it was an amazing experience for me. I cannot speak more highly of Techstars. I continue to be involved with it now. I still have all my portfolio companies there that I work with, and I continue to interact with the group there any way I can to support and help the network.
Fast forward us to 1845 now. What is a venture studio high level?
For us, we want to co-found companies with founders. We want to find people who have what I call problem solution customer validation. So they've gone to a customer, they've validated that there's a problem, they've talked to them through what solution they would create, and then have gotten that potential customer to say, if you built this, it solves my problem and I'll pay for it. And where we see the opportunity in Texas is there's not a lot of $1 billion tech exits in Texas, but there's a lot of $50 to $200 million exits. Mm-hmm. And so we want to find these companies. We want to co-found them with the founders. We want to raise about $2 to $3 million, and then we want to exit them from 50 to 150 million, which will be an unbelievable return for the founders, an unbelievable return for the investors, and an unbelievable return for our studio. But it really plays into what Texas and more focused DFW has to offer companies, and how you can build, grow, and exit a company if you do it very intentionally.
Are these companies going to typically be pre-product if they've just kind of got the hypothesis and some semblance of a beta group set up that they could test a product on were it to be built? Or
sure. I mean, we would expect that a company that's got $20 million in revenue or has just raised $10 million seed round isn't going to want a co-founder partner at that point, which we appreciate. So we look at it coming from four major areas. One would be somebody who's got an idea but has validated that problem solution customer process. The second would be a leveraging IP that exists inside of a university where we can come and look at it and say, this is commercializable. Let's match you up with the founder. The third would be a company that maybe has built and grown, but didn't really ever get off the ground. They've got some revenue, they've raised some capital, but they just kind of are at a point where they're ready to stop, and we see something unique there. And then the last option is that we may find a solution or a problem that we want to solve ourselves, and we'll spin up our own company, bring in our own founder, and do it that way.
How does a venture studio scale if successful, if you're co-founding more and more companies together?
So the goal is to co-found 3 to 4 companies a year.
Okay.
And then the idea would be that we exit those companies every 3 to 4 years, right? So different than venture capital, we're not investing passive investment dollars. We're not investing 20, 30, 50 million. We're investing a few dollars. We're going to have a very specific focus and a very specific exit that comes back into the company to go back to our investors, back to the studio, which we will either keep inside the studio and continue to grow or distribute to the investors that participated, including us as founders.
Do you have an official application process, or how do people kind of answer your CTA to get involved in?
Yes. So we have an application. We've had a couple hundred companies apply at this point. We're down the road with several, excited about the companies that we're seeing. But yes, it's very easy to go to our LinkedIn or our website at 1845studio.com and find that application. They come through the process. We want to make sure that we're adding value to every applicant. That's something I didn't see in the venture space. You'd get a lot of, you're not ready or you don't have enough traction, but not a lot of explanation as to specifically why we didn't invest. We give every company a very thorough evaluation of if we didn't choose to invest, why, how they could do better, what resources may exist out there that they could give them the opportunity to improve, get further along, and come back and apply again to us or another group.
A question, you said earlier you were co-founding 6 not-for-profits at the same time, essentially. You keep a lot of plates spinning. Park City's angel network that I recently saw kind of come out and do its go-to-market. Why is that going to be different than a North Texas angel network, per se?
That's a great question. So I believe that we could probably handle 5 more angel networks in North Texas.
Really?
Because of the geographic diversity. For me, Park Cities was really about investing alongside of people in my community. I live in the Park Cities, geographically focused. So we're not going to have people from Frisco and Plano and Fort Worth in that group. It's really going to be designated to that area. It's connected to the high school in some ways and has an opportunity for us to give back there. We're also bringing in students from SMU as interns and TCU as interns to help them get experience in doing due diligence that they can use to get jobs. And so it's just a very focused geography, as opposed to North Texas Angel Network. I still send members to companies to all the time. I think the more sources of capital we have, the more opportunity we have to invest in companies and grow. Park City's Angel probably isn't going to join the North Texas Angel Network or the Cowtown Angel Network just because of geography.
Okay, so you're providing them access basically to the great startups. And okay, what would be your ask for our community? We're kind of an 83% DFW following, but we do have neighboring adjacent cities, obviously Austin, Houston, even Shreveport, New Orleans, that kind of fly in, drive in for these meetups. What would be your ask kind of as you go to market with 1845 and your other initiatives?
Yeah, so I ask people the same things anywhere I go is to figure out how you can be involved, figure out what is your role in this ecosystem. Maybe you're an entrepreneur, maybe you're an angel or accredited angel investor. Maybe you're a subject matter expert that can offer mentorship or value or connectivity, but recognize the importance of each of us in our ecosystem and actually the responsibility we have to support these entrepreneurs as they grow. One of my favorite things about Texas and specifically DFW is that we want to see people win. We can rejoice in other people's successes, and it happens every day to me. I sit down at a table with 4 or 5 people along with an entrepreneur, and the question is, how do we help you? And they want to do that. What I would say to your community is ask how you can help. Find out how you can get involved and support these organizations and these founders. Engage, take a chance, be an entrepreneur yourself. There's nothing better than building a company, and you learn more about yourself and the world in building a company than anything else. But if that's not you, which is completely fine, then find another way to plug in, engage, and support.
I love that. Throwing the onus back on us.
There you go.
Trey Bowles, thank you so much, sir.
Thanks for having me.